Welcome to my economy guide for set 5. With the removal of the chosen mechanic and introduction of shadow items, we have to change the way we approach leveling and especially rerolling. In this video, I will go over how to manage your economy on every single stage, and then we will go over how this changes for reroll comps that want to get a bunch of 3-star units. Most people think that stage 1 doesn't matter that much, and they don't put too much thought into what they do on this stage. But this stage is really important for getting a good early game. In terms of eco management, there is just a couple of things you need to know. On stage 1-3 and 1-4, you can sometimes make 10 gold early if you get dropped a bunch of gold from the orbs. To maximize your odds of getting 10 gold early, you can play one of these units and they will be able to solo the round. Shout out to u/rainbash over on Reddit who created this, and I will link this Reddit post down in the description as well. Hitting 10 gold early allows you to pick up more units while also lets you make 10, 30, 40, and 50 gold earlier. So that's why we do this in some situations. On 1-4, you can sometimes choose to pre-level to 4 since you get 2 XP every single turn. We can buy 4 XP to be 4 out of 6 in total. When stage 2-1 comes, we will then be level 4, and therefore get a level 4 shop. The benefits of this is that we're able to get 3-cost units. An early 3-cost can be of great benefit to our early game board, and it can also open up some synergies like 3 Coven and 3 Abomination earlier. Pre-leveling can be a bit hard to do as it is somewhat expensive, and it will be harder to make our first 10 gold later on. Therefore, I advise you only to pre-level if you are either specifically looking for a 3-cost unit, or you have a strong board that you think can win streak into stage 2. If neither of these two scenarios apply to your situation, you should not pre-level. I personally only pre-level to 4 in about 40% of my games. Stage 2 is where you start fighting other players, and one of the most important things we do during stage 2 is to build up our economy to a decent size. There are 2 main ways to do this. The first one is interest gold, and the second one is either win streaking or loss streaking. Interest gold is very basic. If you have gold, you get more depending on which interval you're at. Streaking works in the same way. If you are on a 2 or 3 streak, you get 1 gold, at 4 streak you get 2 gold, and at 5 streak and beyond you get 3 gold. Because of this, we always want to continue the streak that we are currently on. Win streaking is obviously better than loss streaking as you get to maintain your HP, while loss streakers lose HP every turn. I cover streaking more in depth in my early game guide, and that will be linked down in the description. How we manage our economy in stage 2 depends on whether we think we can win streak or not. If you have a loss streak opener, you want to focus more on building up interest gold rather than board strength. Therefore, we generally don't want to level at all in the early game. The earlier you make econ on a loss streak, the better. In general, you want to have at least 10 gold by stage 2-2, 20 gold by stage 2-5, and hopefully 40 to 50 gold by the Krugs round. If you have a win streak opener, you generally want to level to 4 on 2-1 or 2-2 if you did not pre-level already. On stage 2-3, you can either pre-level to 5 by being 8 out of 10 XP, or you want to make 10 gold. You want to pre-level if there are units on your bench that you want to keep, or if you simply just don't have enough gold to make 10. At stage 2-5, you want to be level 5 with at least 10 gold. By the time you get to Krugs, you should be level 5 with at least 30 gold. Most of the time though, you are not going to be full win streaking or full loss streaking. In those scenarios, you want to have at least 10 gold by stage 2-3, and on stage 2-5, you can go level 5 if you think you're going to win the next 2 rounds. You want to have at least 20 gold by 2-6, and the goal here is to get to Krugs with 30 gold or more. Like I said earlier, if you're not sure how streaking works or how to play the early game optimally, check out my early game guide where I go more in depth on that subject. The mid game starts on stage 3, and here you will start taking some more damage. Your playstyle here will depend on your HP, your current streak, and your overall board strength. If you are win streaking coming into stage 3, you can consider leveling to 6 on stage 3-1. You only do this if you're on a 4+ win streak, and you're not sure whether or not you're going to beat the 3 other players you haven't fought yet. One thing to mention here is that stage 3-1 is on what we call a bad interval. Here I am on stage 3-1, and if I want to level here, it will cost me 20 gold, but if I wait until stage 3-2, it will only cost me 16 gold. In other words, it's more expensive to level off interval. On stage 3-2, you want to level to 6 most of the time. The times you don't want to level here is if you are not win streaking, you don't have anything good to put in, and you are relatively low on gold, meaning you are dropping down to 30 after you've leveled. I personally level to 6 in about 80% of my games. At level 6 on stage 3-2, you can decide to roll. How much you roll will depend on your current board strength, your current HP, how many pairs you're sitting on, and how much gold you have. Before you roll down, you need to have an ILP, which stands for intention, limit, and potential pivot. Your intention for rolling should always be clear. Are you rolling just to hit a couple more 2 stars? Are you rolling because you're really low on HP? Are you rolling because you need a better carry for your items? Are you rolling to find direction towards a comp? Or are you rolling to complete a synergy? The point I'm making that there's so many different reasons to roll, and you need to know your own reasons. Have your own intention clear before pressing that D key. The second thing is your limit, which means how deep can you roll. We know that the more gold you have, the easier it is to make more money off of interest gold, so we don't want to roll too deep into our stack. To answer this question, you need to be aware of your current situation. If you're low on HP and have been loss streaking, you need to roll until your board is stable, which means that you will be winning most of the following rounds, and those you lose will be good losses, meaning you only lose by 1 or 2 units. If you're just rolling to hit a couple of your pairs, then only rolling through a couple of shops may be the play. If this sounds complicated to you, it's because it is. Stage 3-2 is very complicated and arguably one of the hardest turns in the game. The last point is to understand your potential pivots. This means that you need to be aware of which units you want to buy and which units you can transition into. To give a quick example, here I am on stage 3-2, I have just leveled to 6 and I'm planning to roll down. My intention is to turn a board that was previously loss streaking into a win streak board, and I am primarily looking to 2-star the majority of my board. My limit is around 10 gold as I'm very low on HP, but I am willing to roll to 0 if I completely whiff my entire roll down. My potential pivots here are Renewers and Coven with Lysandra, Soraka, or LeBlanc carry. Katarina carry works, Yasuo carry works, and Karma and Vel'Koz carry also works. On stage 3-5, you can consider leveling to 7. You always do this if you're on a 5+ win streak, and you will sometimes do this if you're win streaking and you stay above 20 gold after leveling. But in both of these cases, you only do it if you're going to win the next 2 rounds to complete the win streak coming into Wolves. Similarly to stage 3-2, you can also roll at level 7 on stage 3-5. The only time I roll here is if I purposely open forted and now I have a ton of gold. The intention here is then to make a board around a 4-cost carry that can win streak late into stage 4. This is doable at level 7 due to the decent odds for 4-costs here. Although I do not recommend this, as it is a very risky strategy, so do not do this if you are newer to the game. At stage 4, some players start getting really low on HP, and you start taking more damage here. Therefore, we generally do not care about streaking from this point. From here, it's all about figuring out whether you can greed and go level 8, or if you have to roll down at level 7. There are a couple of different questions you need to answer before deciding this. How much HP do you have and how strong is your board compared to everybody else's? Does your final comp utilize a 3-cost carry or a 4-cost as its main carry? And does your comp need a legendary unit to work? How many other people are rolling down in your lobby? And how much gold do you have? If you have to roll at level 7, you level to 7 on stage 4-1 and then you roll down. Again, make sure to have your ILP before you roll. When rolling at level 7, you are primarily looking to stabilize off a 2-star 3-cost carry or a 1-star 4-cost carry. And you want to 2-star the majority of your board here as well. How deep you roll will depend on how strong you need to be in order to be stable. This will yet again depend on how strong the rest of the lobby is. One tip is to roll until you think you are stable, then scout to check how strong everyone else is, then potentially roll more on stage 4-2 if needed. In general, when rolling at 7, try not to roll below 10 to 20 gold, as you will still want to make it to level 8 at a reasonable time. But sometimes you will have to roll to 0 in order to be stable. And sometimes you will have to keep rolling to 0 every single turn. This is called donkey rolling. You will only do this when you are low on HP, typically 40 or lower, and you need to hit a certain carry in order to be stable. If you find yourself in this situation, you're playing for a top 6 in most cases, so it will not happen every game. But if you try to save up gold and greed it to level 8, you might just end up going 8th place. And even though being doomed to go bot 4 feels bad, getting top 6 is still way better than going 8th. If you feel like you're strong enough to skip level 7 and go fast 8, you generally need to be at least 70 HP or higher Your board should have won most of the rounds in the mid-game, the majority of the lobby is not rolling on 7, and you need to have at least 50 gold or more and be level 7 on stage 4-1. If you feel like you can fast 8, the goal here is to level to 8 and roll on either stage 4-5 or 5-1. This will depend on how much gold you have. And yet again, you need your ILP before you roll down. Most of the time, you roll to 0 as the goal here is to 2-star all core units that are not legendaries. One of the hardest things in TFT is to be able to recognize when you can be greedy and when you can't be greedy. So don't feel bad if you make the wrong call on whether or not to fast 8. At stage 5, everyone is looking to find their endgame comp, and the player damage starts to ramp up quite fast here. On stage 5-1, you want to be level 8. Here, you will roll down for your comp if you have not already. Sometimes if you're low on gold, you can wait until 5-2 as you get a cleaner interval to level on, and in some very rare scenarios, you can opt to not roll and go for a fast 9. In about 95% of my games though, I level to 8 and roll down on 5-1, and as always, make sure to have an ILP before you roll. My intention here most of the time is to hit all the core units for my comp 2-star besides the legendaries. My limit is 0 gold, and I'm willing to donkey roll until I hit everything. My potential pivots depend a lot on my items, my gold, and my current units, and it will be different in every single situation. Once you've hit all your core units 2-starred, you have a couple of different options. Option 1 is to try and 3-star your main carry. This is very hard and expensive, so I do not recommend you do this unless you are uncontested, you have at least 5 to 6 copies of the unit you're looking for after your first roll down. You also need to have enough HP to save up gold so you can do a big roll down again. This is the very first or 8th type of play, as you have to stay level 8 to have the highest chance of finding the unit. We don't go level 9 when doing this, as the cost of going level 9 is too much and we would rather spend that gold rolling for the 3-star. The other option is to go for level 9. Keep in mind that this is very expensive, so even if you make it there, you still need some gold to roll through in order for it to be worth it. This is the play I will go for the majority of the time, assuming I have enough gold and HP to do so. In some cases, you might just not have enough gold, so you will be stuck rolling at level 8 for the rest of the game. I mentioned earlier that you do a fast 9 and not roll at level 8. This is something that requires you to be very healthy and also requires you to have been win streaking for almost the entire game until this point. When doing a fast 9, the goal is to level to 9 on stage 5-5 or 6-1, depending on how much gold you have. From there, you roll for your comp. The benefit of going fast 9 is that you can reliably 2-star your legendary units, and a 2-star Kale or Heimerdinger are some of the strongest late game carries in the entire game. The downside of going fast 9 is that the rest of the lobby will be donkey rolling to 2-star their board in most cases, so you will most likely be taking a lot of damage on your way to level 9. Now let's go over how economy management changes when you are playing a reroll comp. The strategy you will be using will depend on whether you are planning to 3-star 1-cost units, 2-cost units, or 3-cost units. First, let's go over 1-cost units. To maximize our odds for hitting 3-stars, we will not be leveling at all in the early game. This is because we have a higher chance of seeing 1-cost units in the lower level shops. The game plan when rolling for 1-costs is to get to 50 gold as fast as possible, and since we're not leveling, we often try to go for a 5 loss streak with a heavy economy approach. Once you get to Krugs, you should be 6 out of 10 XP towards level 5, and you will hopefully be closer to 40 gold or more there. On stage 3-1, you will roll down to 35 gold. From there, you have 2 options: save up to 50 gold and slow roll at level 5, or hyper roll to try and 3-star your unit. Slow rolling means you roll down to 50 gold every turn, and hyper rolling is rolling until you hit the 3-star you want. If your comp relies around 3-starring one unit, like for example 3-star Vayne in the Forgotten Ranger comp, then hyper rolling down is viable if you have 7 or more of the desired unit once you get to 35 gold. If you have less, then I recommend equaling back up to 50 and slow rolling. If your comp relies around hitting multiple 3-stars, like for example reroll Hellions, which wants 3-star Poppy, Klett, and Sigs, then hyper rolling from 35 gold is never viable, and you should go for a slow roll strategy instead. The reason we roll down to 35 gold at level 4 is to maximize our rolling odds while minimizing the eco we lose. I will link some graphs that explain it more in detail below. You will keep slow rolling at level 5 until you hit all your desired 3-stars, and after that you will push to as high of a level possible until you roll down again. Most of the time you will get to level 7, if not level 8 before you have to roll for upgrades again. If you are 3-starring 2-cost units, you want to slow roll at level 6. This is because we have the highest odds for 2-costs here. What's different here is that you can level aggressively in the early game, but when the mid game comes around, you want to focus a bit more on eco. The goal is to be level 6 on stage 3-5 with 50 gold or more. From there, you slow roll until you hit your 3 stars, and then you yet again push to as high of a level as possible before rolling down again. If you are 3-starring 3 cost units, it is very similar to 3-starring 2 cost units. You can play the early and mid game aggressively, and the goal is to get to stage 4-1 at level 7 with 50 gold or more. From there, you slow roll until you hit your 3 stars. The reason we don't slow roll at level 8 is that it is very expensive to get there, so the extra gold it costs is not worth the 5% extra rolling odds. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what video you want me to make next, and if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 2,000 other players there who are hungry to climb, and if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.